right, we're here. We're back. Welcome back to Blackburn News, where everything is connected. How y'all doing? Good to see you. Thanks for hanging out with me every day on these interwebs. See y'all. See y'all here. Rockfinners, I see Rockfinners watching on Rockfin. Hello to you. I'll be back a little bit later. Or not too much later. I'll be checking the Rockfin chats for sure. And we are live on Twitter, or what people know as Twitter. I don't think this is... the other day I said Chris Martin was following me. I don't think he's... I don't think this is the real Chris Martinson. The real Chris Martinson has thousands of followers. Anyways, man, there's a really major storm hitting the Middle East. Which we'll talk about a little bit. Excuse me. Let's see. How does this thing work? I'm not sure. No, I know how it works. But let's see. Is it even working? Okay. Man, this thing is finally giving us some fall weather after all that. We had like a week long, like a pretty kind of like intense heat wave at the end of the summer. And intense because it just went on day after day after day. Was it that hot as far as like temperatures go? No, but it was hot enough to be uncomfortable and kind of annoying. But the heat waves that go on for like days and days and days, that's when it starts just wearing you down. After like 4 or 5, 6 days of like 90 in the 90-degree zone, it's like, oh my God. Let's see. Well, let's see. Nicholas never calls in. And I'm not prone to taking calls up at the show. We'll see Nicholas to say. How you doing, Nicholas? You got something for us? You there? I can't hear you. I don't know why. Oh, you know what, Nick? No, I don't think it's my fault. I can't hear anything you're saying. And I don't know why. I don't think it's me. Give me a second. Well, Nick, I can't. Hello, I can't hear you. Maybe try and go out and come back in again. I think that's the best thing to do. All right, we'll try it one more time. How you doing, Nick? Yeesh. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what happened there. I'm sorry. Anyways, this is flooding from Oman. There's a big old storm about to hit that area. It's in Oman. Let's see. We'll jump down to this story. Yep. Let's see. We'll jump down to this story right away, I guess. Since I veered off into this direction. This is a Cyclone Tej. Making landfall in Yemen. Well, right on the border of Yemen and Oman. Cyclone Tej. They're forecasting 1,000 millimeters or 3 feet, more than 3 feet of rain. This is usually one of the world's most arid regions. You remember what just happened to Libya, right? Extreme rain projections for Tej in Yemen. Models are unanimous. Al Marah Governorate could see as much as 500 to 1,000 millimeters. My God. Over the next 24 hours. The projections are worth 10 to 20 years of rain. And here is there's a scene from that storm. That's wild. Yeah. So they're about to get smashed. So we're gonna, for the next day or two, probably, or at least the next day or two, be inundated with the massive destruction of Cyclone Tej. Poppy sent me this actually days ago, and I don't know why this got buried or forgotten. Didn't mean to bury this or forget this, but record rain and snowpack in California has brought some drought-stricken zombie lakes back to life. Remember all the snowpack we got was forecast to bring us, it was actually forecast to bring us some major flooding, which really hasn't panned out, the flooding thing. But it is replenishing the lake, so that's good. It's good news. Climate change taketh away, and then climate change giveth, right? Just when you're in the middle of a mega drought, you get 13 atmospheric rivers in a row, and you get like the most massive snowpack that you've had in decades. And that, replenishes the lakes at least for a year or two. Lake Shasta and Lake Oroville, for example, are 86% full when they were only 35% last year. Let's look at some pictures of said lakes, the before and after, or maybe the after and after, or before. I don't know. Unrecognizable before and after photos show Zombie Lake rising from the grave after years of droughts. It's been a wild year. So this is Lake Oroville from 2021 to today. Nearly 100% capacity. So that's good news. Look where it was. Good God. Almost down to the last little drops there. Is that it? Is that the only picture? I thought there was another picture in here. Anyways. Here. Maybe they'll give us this. Give us some more pictures here. Here is, this is Lake Oroville again. Can y'all see that? I hope share. It's Lake Oroville. Y'all gonna give us some more pictures? Okay. Again, I think this is the same. Lake Oroville, the bridge. Hello. This must be. Oh no, this is Lake Oroville again. Another section of Lake Oroville shows houseboats on a long line in a thin section of the water on September 4th, 2021. And again on April 16th, 2023 at the same spot, but with a wide girth on either side due to the expansion of the lake. So this is where it was. This is where it is. Almost backed up. Not quite. This is where it was. This is where it is. All right. Yay, water again. Look, there's plenty of water in the lake. This ain't no climate change. I just like to try out my voices. It's just farmland in the two-layer lake basin submerged in water and Corcoran. So there was some flooding. Yes, yes, some flooding. All right. We're gonna jump over to some news. I know some people are so annoyed by that. It's okay. You're gonna be all right. Some people. But I like that some of these sites are doing like top 10 news headlines that were missed by the mainstream media. I rather like these posts. This is from the Vigilant Fox. Media blackout. 10 news stories they chose not to tell you this week. 10. Pfizer stock takes big loss because nobody wants their COVID vaccines and drugs. That's true. Elon Musk makes strong statement in defense of the Second Amendment. Okay. Does anybody care about that one? Donald Trump unleashes on corrupt World Health Organization in viral Truth Social video. I didn't see it. Did anybody see this video? Oh, I'm not showing you this. Oh, thanks, G. Yes. Did anybody see that video? I didn't see it. I don't know. It's like, I feel like Donald Trump is about as relevant as any other candidate, which is almost not really relevant. I almost feel like they're trying to pump him up. Is it me, or are they trying to pump him up? Like even the indictments and I just every time I see something about him, I almost feel like you guys are working really hard to keep him relevant because he's really not relevant. He's a former president of the United States who is running again. Yes, okay, he's relevant on that angle, but I feel like a lot of people feel like me, which is like I just don't really care about Donald Trump all that much, some people are still like, I hate Donald Trump. He's the worst ever. He's the great. Some people are really like, and then, and some people really love him. Like, I love Donald Trump. But I mostly feel like he's kind of like, who cares? Can somebody new come in here? Can anybody out there who is not a lifelong member of the club come in and say some new things about things? But I almost feel like they're just pumping him, they're really pumping him up, like trying to make him like a relevant, like a specter that everybody, oh, watch out for Donald Trump. Oh, it's like, whatever. anyways, so he had a, I don't know. I did, and I really even want to watch it? I don't even know if I want to watch it. Murderous doctors destined unvaccinated patients to suffocate to death. What? I don't even know what that one's about. Tyson Food makes big bet that you will eat the bugs. MP Andrew Bridgen brings forth compelling evidence to the UK Parliament that COVID-19 shots are responsible for excess deaths. They're safe and effective, by the way. Safe and effective. I'm just reading headlines here. Okay, I'm just reading the lines. We already covered that. Anyways, researchers find Pfizer excluded clinical trial deaths from FDA COVID-19 vaccine EUA request. Oh, did you guys hear about that one? Maybe we'll save that for later. Black Lives Matter leader stands behind January 6 prisoners and endorses Trump. Okay. And I was like, really? I actually found this, and it looks to be true. Hospitals murdered COVID patients. The more they killed, the more money they made. I think people knew that. Number one, it's no accident that 2/3 of the world's population fell for the greatest psychological fear campaign in human history. Perverse brainwashing techniques were thoroughly studied to get you jabbed. And that is true. But let's look at this real quick, and we'll go back to some other news. One, there's several founders of Black Lives Matter. It's not just one person. This is one of the founders. Black Lives Matter leader stands behind J6 prisoners and endorses Trump. The founder. But this is, interesting nonetheless. The founder of Black Lives Matter organization is voicing his support for January 6 prisoners and not shying away from endorsing former President Donald Trump as the best candidate we have. Okay. Mark Fisher, who stepped down from his leadership position at BLM Rhode Island, which he co-founded and is now founder and executive director of the Maryland-based BLM Incorporated, has stood in solidarity with leaders of the Proud Boys and led vigils of prayer for the people he believes to be political prisoners. Their lambs led to slaughter to be sacrificed as an example for all who might want to dissent in the future, Mr. Fisher told the Epoch Times. This is what the government does to those who express independent thought and want to stand up for what they believe. What he sees in the vindictive treatment for the J6 prisoners are similarities of how black people have been treated, he said, and his aspiration in establishing that connection is to find common ground. One of the things I highlight when I speak to them is that they have a whole new understanding now of what black people have been going through with the over-policing, the police brutality, and the unfair treatment in the two-tier justice system and how oppressive and overreaching it is. Just as legacy media has distorted what happened at the U.S. Capitol on January 6, 2021 by accusing Trump supporters of a violent insurrection, Mr. Fisher said BLM has been blamed for the 2020 summer riots, though there were outside parties like the far-left extremist group Antifa that were a source of the chaos. And there was a lot, when that was going on, right, there were a lot of people saying that a bunch of political usurpers had come in. There were a lot of claims during those riots, the George Floyd riots. There were a lot of claims that there were undercover agents. There were, people saying, oh, all these other people came into the riots who weren't, it wasn't necessarily their cause, right? Or whatever. They were just in there like, hey, all right, let's go. So it's interesting. Antifa had a lot to do with the riots of 2020, and there were a lot of anarchist groups who just wanted to take advantage of the moment and were out for destruction. Black Lives Matter has been around years before George Floyd died while in police custody in Minneapolis in 2020, Mr. Fisher said. Did anybody see the Tucker Carlson video? Mr. Fisher, a Christian who has a degree in theology with a background in being a pastor, expressed contempt for both the government and the media. Okay, well, I'm not going to read any more of that, but that's, interesting. Did anybody see that Tucker Carlson video? partly that video made me, I'm not a full on. I don't love everything that Tucker Carlson does. I don't love everything that he talks about or stands for. He's, pretty solidly appeals to to right wing America, and I'm just like, it's not really my get down. It's not really my thing. So part of the video that he recently did about George Floyd, parts of it I was kind of like, all right. But the part that's important about that video that he covered, which I thought was surprising, and I hope that other people cover it in a different way, was that the autopsy from George Floyd's death actually said that he did not die of trauma. He didn't die of violence from the police. He died for other reasons. And that's I think that's pretty interesting. Has anybody watched? There's several videos out there of pieced together video of everything that happened on that block, like prior to the George Floyd situation. If you watch, I don't know. I don't know if I have any of them readily available at my fingertips, but there are a few good videos done out there of basically telling the story of what led up to that. And when you see those videos, you're like, this looks really weird. That's all I'm going to say about it. If you just watch any of those videos about, all the events that led up to that thing, you're going to go, not everything about this story is very clear. So, and it probably will leave you with more questions than answers. That's all I have to say about that. Does that mean that, and the other thing too is that I feel like, if people think that some weirdness went on around George Floyd's death, there still isn't a problem with over policing and police brutality and extrajudicial killings, especially of black people, right? So that is a thing. It's a thing that's happening. It happens all the time. Whether George Floyd, whether the story is correct or not, doesn't really have any bearing on the fact that those things happen every day, right? And people should be rightly outraged by it. So even if the inspiration or the spark, if you will, for that protest, even if it was a little strange, it doesn't actually mean that the intention of the protest is wrong, because actually the intention of the protest mostly was right. Again, there were a lot of extra players in that, right? There was a lot of other things, there were a lot of people hopping on like, oh, how can we use this to our advantage? There were a lot of people doing stuff like that during those riots. And there was the weird thing about the fact that we were in a global pandemic, in the middle of a pandemic when everybody was supposed to be shut in their house wearing masks, and right, under penalty of what, people had their lives upended, but it was totally cool to go out and protest and be out in the streets, just doing, it was a little bit weird. The juxtaposition was very what? Everybody stay at home, wear your mask, and don't, and take your COVID test, get tested daily, and don't die from COVID, but you can totally riot because this is this is a good cause. Okay, that was a little bit weird. It was a little bit weird. It was actually a lot weird, but anyways. There was that. All right, we're going to go. Where are we at? What are we doing? I'm just checking to see if the feed is going on Twitter. All right. Yeah, we cover all kinds of stuff on this channel. I know it's not, you think it's one thing and it's not. You think it's, yeah, the Umbrella Man. That's right. Ronald 3. Yeah, exactly. The Umbrella Man, right? Who was that? Yeah, good. Yep. Yep. Indeed. All right. Let's keep going. We cover all kinds of stuff, and it doesn't have to fit into your ideological silo. No. And if it doesn't, well, I don't know. Maybe you should rethink your silo or don't have one. How about don't have one? So Antarctica, there's a lot of warming in Antarctica, and there's a lot not. The ice is not coming back as quickly as it should, and there's a lack of sea ice. And what that means scientifically, is that this lack of sea ice will add to the lack of albedo. And the lack of albedo will lead to more warming. We're already at 1.5 C. We have breached the guardrail that must not be breached, and that is this year. That is happening today and now. And what you have is, well, and then you have El Nino kicking in, and you have tipping points kicking in. You have feedbacks kicking in. And one of the feedbacks that's kicking in right now is a lack of the regrowth of sea ice during what was the Antarctic winter. And now it's going to be summer, and so a lot of the sea ice that didn't come back ain't going to come back. And so it's going to lead to more heating. And basically, to break it down in a nutshell, there's going to be more heating. So you thought it was warm already. You thought it was getting quite toasty already. And this can only add to the problem. Study finds direct evidence of polar amplification on continent as scientists warn of implications of ice loss. Antarctica is likely warming at almost twice the rate of the rest of the world and faster than climate change models are predicting, with potentially far-reaching implications for global sea level rise. According to a scientific study, scientists analyzed 78 Antarctic ice cores to recreate temperatures going back 1,000 years and found that warming across the continent was outside what could be expected from natural swings. So you might think that the weather is always changing, but this is outside of the weather is always changing. This is something unique to the weather is always changing. This is more like we done changed the weather. In West Antarctica, a region considered particularly vulnerable to warming with an ice sheet that could push up global sea levels by several meters if it collapsed, the study found warming at twice the rate suggested by climate models. Climate scientists have long expected that polar regions would warm faster than the rest of the planet. Well, they are. A phenomenon known as polar amplification, and this has been seen in the Arctic. Dr. Matthew Casado of the Laboratoire des Sciences du Climate et de l'Environnement in France, and lead author of the study, said they had found direct evidence that Antarctica was also now undergoing polar amplification. It is extremely concerning to see such significant warming in Antarctica beyond natural variability, he said. Antarctica is the size of the continental U.S. and Mexico combined, but has only 23 permanent weather stations, and only 3 of these are away from the coast. The research published in the journal Nature Climate Change found Antarctica was warming at a rate of between 0.22 C and 0.32 C per decade, compared to 0.18 per decade predicted by climate models. We're gonna get to the upshot of this. Part of the warming in Antarctica is likely to be masked by a change in patterns of wind also thought to be linked to global heating and the loss of ozone, right? There's a huge hole in the ozone over Antarctica, I believe, as we speak. Loss of ozone over the continent that has tended to reduce temperatures. Dr. Sarah Jackson, an ice core expert at the Australian National University who was not involved in the study, said the findings were deeply concerning. Here's what she says. All our projections for future sea level rise use these low rates of warming. Our models might be underestimating the loss of ice that we might get, she said. Dr. Danielle Udi, a climate scientist and ice core expert at the University of Tasmania, who was not involved in the paper, said the research was timely given the extreme events we've been seeing in Antarctica. Scientists are scrambling to understand why Antarctic sea ice has been at record low levels over the last 2 years. They're scrambling. Those scientists, they are scrambling. Let me see. I'm a scientist. I am. I'm a medical doctor. I'm a scientist. I'm studying a phenomenon called global warming. And it seems that the ice is melting and going away and or not reforming when it should reform when it gets colder, or supposed to be going colder. I'm a doctor. I'm a PhD. I'm a climate scientist. I don't have to scramble to figure that one out. I don't know why these scientists are scrambling. They're like, hold on. Let me get the stuff together. I'm scrambling to get it together, to figure it out. What's the scramble about? It's getting warmer on the planet, and there's less sea ice. I think it's pretty self-evident what's going on. You don't need to scramble. I think what you should do is make yourself a nice hot cup of coffee. Just maybe do some crossword puzzles before you approach the computer, and then go to the computer, look at the computer, like, oh, seems to look. Get your coffee in hand. Really, take in the fact that there's less ice on a warming planet, and then go, yeah, looks like that's what's happening. I mean, there you go. Write your paper and be done with it. Go on about your day. There. Solved it for you. Solved it for you, scientists. Okay. They are scrambling to understand. It's just so funny. Why would you? I mean, this is the most hilarious of writing. Why would you even write it that way? They are scratching their heads. They are in wonderment. They are in awe. They are bewildered. They are shocked. It's whatever. Anyways, thousands of emperor penguin chicks likely died in late 2022 after the usually stable sea ice supporting colonies in West Antarctica melted. Yeah. So that's happening. And it's not good. It's not a good thing. It really isn't. Just most likely means, I mean, okay. I'll try not to be so harsh. Maybe they mean the scientists are scrambling. I'm just trying to figure out why they would write it that way. The scientists are scrambling because they didn't think it was going to happen. They thought, oh, this is going to happen in 2045. Oh, this is going to happen in 2080. It's 2023. And the thing that we modeled out that was supposed to happen in 2045 is happening right now. Oh, we're scrambling to figure out how to I don't know, put this together in our brains. I don't know, whatever. Do they mean scrambling like, when the Titanic was going down and people were scrambling to get into a lifeboat? They were scrambling to get up to the top decks. They were scrambling to get out of the way of falling debris. Is that the kind of scrambling they mean? I don't know. It's just funny. Scrambling for hope, yes. Andre, probably. Scrambling to make sense out of it all. I don't know. What are we going to do? Scrambling to, I'm not really sure. Scrambling to get a new paper together. I don't know. Forecast for Europe until October 30th. Halloween, Hallows Eve is upon us. October 2023, massive warming. See it until the end. Aerosol termination Shocktober is real. Also, Sigma 5 of albedo warming potential of Antarctic is kicking in. Yeah, I'm telling you, a lot of scientists out there, a lot of climate scientists are making with the red lights flashing. Warning, warning. But it's quite warm, or warmer than it should be this time of year. Again, in Europe, it's Thomas Rees. Let's see. Let's move on from there. We covered this in Oman. Okay. I don't know if what we're going to... Hold on. We may actually jump over to Rockfin. Yeah, let's do that. I'm going to jump over to Rockfin now and we'll cover a couple things. Because I only have a few minutes left. You Googled scientists scrambling and a lot of hits came up? Okay. All right. So we're going to move over to Rockfin. YouTubers, see you tomorrow. Hopefully at noon. I just couldn't, had something going on this morning. I could not make it here right at noon. But we'll do 12 p.m. Pacific Daylight tomorrow. So YouTubers will see you then. Also, you know how to support the show. If you'd like to support the show, please consider supporting the show. All right.